In 2016, Respawn started working on a new game mode originally designed for Titanfall called Survival. But obviously, that game mode never came. Instead, we got Apex Legends. By 2017, Respawn had created the first map called Real Big Map, which we now know as Kings Canyon. This early version of Kings Canyon was very open, big enough for Titans, and had numbered zones instead of named POIs. It was probably around this time that drop pods such as this one were introduced as to bring the Battle Royale part of the game to life. And thanks to Chad Grenier, the former game director on Apex Legends, we have this cool little animation of the stages of the Kings Canyon map. Interestingly enough, Apex Legends was actually leaked back in 2018, a year before it was released, but it was dismissed as being fake. World's Edge has gone through quite a few changes, especially from its original concept art. For example, this was the original map, and this is what it looks like now. To put into perspective the amount of changes to each location, here's the actual development process of Lava Siphon and the volcanic region. Since early development back in 2019, almost all the locations in the Olympus concept art were either scrapped or drastically changed. And unlike Kings Canyon or World's Edge, we got a lot of the details behind the Olympus map and its development. In the concept ideas, we can actually see that Respawn planned to have a farm area and a location called Solar Fields. Though we didn't get those two locations, we did get very altered versions of locations like Resort, Corporate, or the Shipping Zone. Also, another thing to notice is that in the playtest screenshots, you can see more buildings in the distance. Whether that was supposed to be an add-on as part of the playable map, I honestly don't really know. But like I said earlier, we know that Olympus was in development all the way back in 2019, before World's Edge was even released. And just to give you an idea of what was being worked on at that time, here you go. You may not recognize this location, but this is in fact Thunderdome. And like Thunderdome, most ideas have been altered or even completely scrapped. For example, most of these currency concepts were thrown away. And as you can see, it's quite a few. Respawn also messed around with many different design ideas for the Trident, but before they decided on the final design, this is what it looked like. And no, I have no idea who that is. Now, here's a finisher from early development that was scrapped. I believe the reason it was thrown out is because Apex is not an M-rated game. Except for this. Anyway, speaking of Revenant, Revenant originally had 4 legs. Now, you would only see them when he crouched, but the idea nonetheless ended up being scrapped. Now, before I go on to the Stormpoint map, let's quickly go back to the Olympus map. Instead of the Olympus we know today, it could have looked a lot different if these next few concepts became reality. The first version here is from Heath. Obviously, very futuristic, but a cool thing he included was the real-world objects that helped him create the architecture of the buildings in the screenshot. The second version of Olympus that we didn't get is this, created by 2Boy. Again, very futuristic, but it doesn't look like a happy place. At least to me. It looks like a futuristic dystopian world. But if what I'm about to say is correct, then it will all make sense. You see, I happened to come across a movie called Elysium. And in the movie, there is a habitable spacecraft that in some aspects looks similar to Olympus. Now, the movie is about a dystopian world and the elites, but what's even more interesting is that Elysium is an actual POI on the Olympus map. Coincidence? I don't know. It has now been almost 3 months since the release of the Stormpoint map. Now, like every other map, it changed quite a bit from the concept art. Definitely not as much as Olympus, but it still changed quite a bit. Now, you may already know this, but Stormpoint is now officially the biggest map in Apex Legends. It's actually 15% larger than World's Edge, which is the second biggest map. And yes, Heath did give us a bunch more real-world images that helped him create this digital map. Now, unless you're a dev watching this, you likely never saw the early development playtests. So here's a short clip. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the current launch screen, and so here's the original launch screen, along with 3 iterations of the lobby. And while this might be a small detail, the devs playtested with many different colors and icons to make the game look and feel right. Although they did remove some pretty funny names, which you'll see in a second. Now, if you've ever wondered how they make the animations for the characters, this is how.
When you put it back on, make sure to kick it out a little bit. Good. Let's just do this for a little bit.
Last but not least, we have some early character concepts, including Lifeline's drone and the Havoc. Now that's gonna be all for this video. I truly hope I was able to make a fun, informative video. And if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, share with your friends. Help me get this video recommended. But again, thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.